graduate student in Dr. Kaylee Schwertfeger's lab. I'm really excited to be here and to talk to you guys today. So in the interest of time, I'm just going to get started. So the title of my talk today is Cancer's Arch Nemesis, the Naked Mole Rat, which is pictured here. So quickly, does anybody know how long maybe a mouse or a rat on average, their average lifespan? How long do they live? Yeah. A year maybe in the wild, maybe 3 years in captivity, so they don't live very long. However, the naked mole rat can actually live to be over 30 years, which is actually pretty remarkable for a rodent of its size. So they have this unique ability to defy the laws of aging, and I'll kind of get into that in a second. But first, I want to go over my timeline so you kind of have an idea of who I am. My path is a little weird. So I actually grew up in northern Minnesota in a small town called Biwabic, Minnesota. If anybody's heard of it, it's great. That's amazing. It's like the size of about 1,000 people. And so I actually graduated from high school in 2008. And at this point, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I think that seems to be a common theme. I really liked science, but I really liked, honestly, everything. So I went to the University of Minnesota Duluth, and this is really where I started getting more interested in science. So my grandfather's actually a veterinarian. My uncle's actually a veterinarian. And I said, I am not going to be a veterinarian because I'm not going to do what my family did. Well, I wanted to be a veterinarian. So I actually applied into veterinary school following college, and I started here at the University of Minnesota in 2012. And at this time, I thought I would take over my grandpa's small animal practice, work with animals every day, and be a clinician. But during vet school, so the summer of 2014, I actually joined a research lab because I honestly didn't know what a scientist was. I just was really curious. He had a project. I joined a lab that had a project on canine cancer. I thought it was fascinating. And that summer was really pivotal in my life and my career. So I really liked research so much that I took 2 years off of veterinary school to do a research fellowship through the Howard Hughes Institute, and I actually did this in Dr. Schwertfeger's lab. It was a similar research project in the canines, but I actually moved it into a breast cancer model. And so following that 2 years, I actually went back to veterinary school. I finished and graduated in 2018, and from there I actually started my Ph.D. in Kaylee's lab in the fall of 2018. So that's where I am now. I'm 29 and I'm still in school, but it's great. I love science and I love veterinary medicine, and I'll kind of hopefully get to explain why I think both of them coincide really well. So again, you've seen this picture, the tumor microenvironment. So I wonder if, okay, I'm going to use my pointer here. So one of the things that wasn't on Dr. Schwertfeger's slide is actually, so we have the tumor along with the environment that it lives in. And there's actually another component of the microenvironment, that's the extracellular matrix. And this actually provides kind of like a scaffold for the tumor that it sits in, kind of a matrix or a support system. And so pictured here in these blue squiggly lines is a component of the extracellular matrix called hyaluronic acid. And so hyaluronic acid actually surrounds individual tumor cells, but it also kind of creates this castle wall that surrounds the bulk of the tumor. And so I actually study in the lab this particular component of the extracellular matrix, hyaluronic acid, and it's really fascinating because this is actually under normal conditions in your body right now. There's a lot of this high molecular weight hyaluronic acid in your body. So it's present in your joint capsule fluid, in the vitreous humor of your eye, so here, and also your skin. It helps maintain hydration of your skin, so you see it in a lot of like skin cream or skincare commercials. And this high molecular weight molecule is really anti-inflammatory. It's really good for maintaining that structural foundation of some of these tissues. But if it gets exposed to some sort of stress, so if you get a cut or a wound, it actually gets chopped up into these little fragments. And so now you have this high molecular weight molecule that gets cleaved, and then all these low molecular weight fragments, or these small fragments, have actually been shown to be pro-inflammatory. So it actually acts as this molecular switch. So now in a wound environment or a wound situation, you want to recruit immune cells. You want to create this pro-inflammatory environment to promote wound healing, essentially. But unfortunately, sometimes cancer, for example, has been compared to a wound that doesn't heal. And so in cancer, we actually find a lot less of these high molecular weight fragments and a lot more of these low molecular weight fragments. And so here, I'm bringing back the naked mole rat. We kind of understand this function of HA, or hyaluronic acid, because of this guy. He or she actually was called the a supermodel by Science Magazine because they defy the laws of aging. And this is predominantly because they make a really, really high molecular weight hyaluronic acid molecule, and they actually can't fragment it into these low molecular weight fragments. So this has been shown to lead to their inability to get cancer because they have this very high molecular weight molecule. And so I kind of want to end by just saying that I think as a veterinarian, we can learn a lot from other species, and we can learn some of these things that we learn from all these other animals can help us or direct research in human medicine. It can be comparative and translatable. So not only can we help animals with cancer, but we can also use that information to help humans as well. And I think it's really fascinating. So I'd be happy to take any questions about career development or the science as well. Thanks. There's got to be a question. Yeah.
I know you were pretty adamant on being a veterinarian, but
Yep.
do you ever want to switch majors?
So in college I majored in biology, and I didn't actually know right away in college if I wanted to be a veterinarian, but I really, really liked biology. So once I started volunteering at my grandpa's clinic and other veterinary clinics, I realized why they wanted to be a veterinarian. It's biology. It encompasses all of biology, and it's pretty amazing. So I didn't really ever want to switch majors. I just kind of kept pinpointing down what I loved and what I wanted to do. And so I just kind of kept doing that. Yeah. Yeah.
Do other animals have that,
The high molecular weight hyaluronan? Not that I'm aware of. Not as high as these guys make. So they make a pretty unique molecule. We have pretty high molecular weight hyaluronan in our bodies as well, and a lot of animals do, just not as high as these guys have. So they're kind of unique. Yeah.
So could
Sorry.
you possibly take the stuff from the naked rodent and just put it in humans?
You know, I've thought about that, in skin cream and stuff, we could just rub. No, I think, so part of the thing is that we actually have these enzymes that can break this down. So while we might want this high molecular molecule in our body, I have a feeling that our bodies would just chop it up into fragments if it wanted. And the naked mole rat can't do that. But that's a good thought. Maybe you can study that.
So are you running live animal trials in naked mole rats?
No, I actually don't work with naked mole rats at all. It was a pivotal paper a little while back that discovered this, and it's because of this paper that I look at hyaluronic acid fragmentation actually in the progression of breast cancer. So I actually do a lot of cell work with patient-derived breast cancer cells, and I look at the HA that they make. And a lot of times they actually have low molecular weight fragments.
Are there other animals that you have studied that have similar traits?
I have not not that I'm aware of, honestly. I do know, the Shar-Pei, for example, has the Shar-Pei dog. They actually make, they have differences in their HA and their high molecular weight HA, and they actually fragment it into pieces, and they have various enzymes that can do so. And I think that studies of that have showed that it's led to more of this inflammatory environment in them, and they actually get something called Shar-Pei fever. So I kind of wonder if it's because of their fragmented HA, but I don't think that's been directly shown, and I would say it's a pretty big black box. Yeah.
Is there any downside to having a
High molecular weight? There is a bit of a downside in the sense that this high molecular weight molecule, probably low molecular weight as well, but it can really create this barrier around these tumors, and it makes it really hard to get drugs into the tumor to target them. So there is a little bit of work trying to figure out how to get rid of that castle wall to improve the delivery of drugs to the tumor. So in a way, yes, it can also. It's kind of this balance beam. Yeah.
Would having that greater cell wall help to encapsulate the tumor better and protect it maybe from migrating into other cells?
I think so. I will say this is all this is based on some of the research that I've done, but I do think the reason that some of these cancer cells are fragmenting their hyaluronan in their environment is actually to move through it. Because when it's really high molecular weight, it is pretty dense. And if you look at it under an electron microscope, it's packed really tightly. So I would imagine it'd be difficult for them to travel through. But I also do think they can almost use it to travel along as in a track. So there's a lot, yeah.
How big of a team do you work
So in Dr. Shortfigure's lab, she actually has a pretty decent sized lab. There's probably, there's 3 graduate students, 2 technicians, and 2 postdocs. I think that's, yeah. Which is a pretty, it's actually on the bigger side of most research labs, I would say. But it's a great group, it's fun. And we all do different projects, so it's a fun space to be in.